transfer of City House land, item 38.
Oh, is this Groundhog Day, is it? Groundhog Day? Didn't we just do that?
It's only Groundhog Day for those that choose to see it that way.
Oh.
All right. So this is the sister paper, so we're told, to the other sister paper, and this is the transfer of assets.
Two properties, Lewison and Charles Street.
Yep.
Question?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only name you've got on your brain.
I'm doing. I don't know why I do
so well
it.
behaved today.
Ref, right. Would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, I'm not going to go on what we talked about before, but just one question. So page 478, item 2.1.8. So you say that the policy, so the strategic, the significance and engagement policy, it says the policy expressly states that a decision to dispose of only part of such a strategic asset may be made without those parts being considered to be strategic. Can you just kind of expand on what that means?
It means the asset as a whole, the social housing portfolio as a whole
Is a
strategic asset, but the component parts of it are not.
So is there a certain
No,
line around?
The policy doesn't specify.
And is that just for social housing or any strategic asset?
I think it applies to all. That's a comment that is made to all in relation to all strategic assets. But I'm looking at my colleague over there.
Like, is it 51%? Is it?
With all our strategic assets, for example, the is a strategic asset. But if we were dealing with just part of it, then it's not considered strategic. We can deal with parts of the asset, depending obviously on how big the part is.
Well, that's the obvious question. Is there a delineation somewhere about what bit? No?
No.
That's interesting.
Dealing with several $100,000.
Yeah, I know.
Portfolio of 350 million.
Yeah, but so I guess my question is, at what point do you kind of think, actually, no, that's strategic?
I think that's a matter of judgment, but certainly you would make the call that properties we're dealing with today.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Yanni?
Yeah, thanks. I was just wondering, in terms of whether we've had a valuation on this.
Yes, we have.
Right. And when was that done?
It was done in 2014 and then updated in 2016.
Right, okay. And so the price is listed here, the value listed here, based on those 2016 values?
Yes.
Okay. And is there anything in the conditions of sale or gift that would require social housing to be built back on these sites?
No, the trust to whom these assets to be transferred is a charitable trust. It's charitable objects, social housing. The trust can only use these assets for social housing. So it can deliver social housing, it can use these assets to deliver social housing in however it chooses.
Right, okay. And just two other questions. Just under one, you say that we've got an obligation under the housing accord, but I'm just trying to understand why we've got an obligation when the government had obligations as well that it's changed or not meeting around the 75 million. So is obligation the right word? I mean, are we legally bound to do this by the housing accord, or is it something that we can actually choose to do like the government has with its money that's taken out?
We believe we're obligated. We have signatories to the housing accord.
So why are we obligated to do this, but government's not obligated to give us the money or to spend the 75 million on housing?
And I can't answer on behalf of government, but I can answer.
You'd have to ask the government.
But yeah, okay. So yeah, so it's like the cost share. We have to do what we say we're going to do, despite the fact that other things have changed.
We keep to our word.
That's not the start.
Okay. And this, the final question, can I just ask, given that there's candidates in the election who are standing on a platform around housing, social housing, why are we doing this today in the election period rather than waiting for the election?
We've already consulted on it, Yanni, for goodness sake.
It's fine, I'm just, like...
It's just where we are in the process.
It's just where we are.
It's not for staff to answer. We've already been through the consultation. I mean, there is nothing that hasn't been in the public arena. This is being heard in public. There is nothing that's a problem here, and it's not for staff to answer somebody playing political games at this time of the year. Thank you. Anything else?
No.
Good. Right. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Glenn and Phil. Is there any discussion? Yanni?
I will abstain on this because I believe that we shouldn't be making a significant decision like this in the election period. It's my view that given that they're having candidates who have raised the issue of social housing on the campaign trail, that this is a significant decision, and I feel uncomfortable making this decision today. It's, in my view, in terms of the housing accord, I think that's something that the new council needs to really have a good look at and understand the obligations that both sides had and what has or hasn't been done. But it has been a moving feast, and I think it would be good to get some certainty around why things have been changed significantly from the government's perspective, rather than simply us continuing to go through it. So, but I think making the decision today, in my view, isn't appropriate, and I will be abstaining from this because I think it's something that the new council, when it comes in, should be able to consider and work through what it wishes to do.
Pauline, Glenn and Phil.
Yeah, thank you. Look, I know this has been a very long and detailed and challenging piece of work. To me, our housing portfolio has been in dire straits, and for whatever reasons those are, we had to find a way out of this. This represents $50 million out of our $350 million worth of social housing assets. I think it's a really good project to enter into. It's a good collaborative agreement. We've got good partners on the trust, and we've been told that the trust is safe. It's going to look after the asset and grow the portfolio. It's a great model, and I'm looking forward to it being successful. And at the end of the day, the winners are going to be tenants in good, affordable housing, getting the income-related rent subsidy from the government. So let's give it a go. It's no time now to delay it. It's so close to taking off. I support it.
Glenn and then Phil and David.
Thank you. The way I see this is the culmination of a term's work. So this has been a big piece of work over 3 years, and this council, in my view, has achieved a lot over these last 3 years, and this is another big tick because this is about our tenants at the end of it. Just noting 3 points. Well, I've noted the first over a term's work. This is the capitalisation of the entity. The trust is required, as we know, to be solvent. We're holding up our end of the housing accord. We're signatories to that if the other partner makes other decisions. That's not our responsibility. We're making good on that signature, and that's what matters. My third point, the report seeks to initiate the capitalisation process as per page 480 with this $50 million. At the end of it, just like to stress, it's about the tenants. We all know you might have a philosophical view on this which is different from mine. The fact is we've been in social housing for a long time. We've got over 2,000 tenants depending on our decisions. Let's make it about them. We're nearly there. So this really, if you can agree on this today, I think it would be a good tick for the council to end on.
Phil?
Look, I'm not going to reiterate, I agree with points that have been made in favour of this. Getting nothing done at this stage is simply not an option. We owe it to our tenants, we owe it to the staff who've worked so hard on this for over nearly 3 years, And we owe it to the whole of Christchurch, really, to actually make a clear decision and just do this. So the background to this, of course, is that, and we wouldn't be in this position if government were fair and gave us gave our tenants the income-related rent subsidy, but they refuse. That's a scandal in my view, but it does not mean we do nothing. This council is doing what we can, and I'm certainly strongly supporting the recommendations.
David?
I have long had some reservations about this proposal, primarily centred around the fact that it doesn't sit with the sort of recent decisions of asset transfer, and here we are taking $50 million worth of assets off our books, and with hardly a whimper when we suggest selling Red Bus or City Care, it creates an uproar. And the other issue that I have some problem with really is around the solvency of the organisation, and in that in the $50 million transfer, $5 million of it is really put aside to make this company solvent. So it is, whilst I see some of the pros and cons of the proposal, my economic view of it gives me some reason to seriously sort of question whether longer term this is going to be a viable operation. So I'm afraid I can't really support it, and haven't done in the past either.
Well, I'll just say that I find it extraordinary that somebody can sit around the table and say that this is a decision that should be put off. The main decision we made last week when we signed over to the Housing Trust, when we assigned the tenancies. I signed the tenancy agreement yesterday. Many of you were there. And to have somebody playing politics in a lead up to an election, simply making the point that others misrepresent what's going on as a reason to hold off the decision is absolutely beyond my belief. So this is not an asset sale. This is the transfer of 2 properties. It's actually not the full 50 million, but it's the first tranche of properties that will ultimately be a value of 50 million to be transferred from the council to the Ōtautahi Community Housing Trust. These 2 properties are the first to be transferred, and we're transferring to a trust of which we are essentially a part, but we are not a majority. You know, there isn't a shareholder obviously in a trust, but we're not a majority. We're under a majority because we have other partners sitting at the table, all with the same intent. The trust is guided by the trust deed. It can only work with on social housing. That's our city's, you know, mantra. We believe in social housing and we want to be a part of it. Central government's made it crystal clear that they don't believe that city councils are worthy of receiving access to the one stream of income which is assured around income related, and that's the income related rental subsidy. They pay it to themselves, they pay it to any community housing provider, but they won't pay it to a council. We have been committed since 1921 to social housing. I cannot for the life of me understand why central government will not partner with us. And as I said yesterday at the signing of the transfer to the Ōtautahi Community Housing Trust, I said, you now have the responsibility to reach out to central government. We want you to partner with central government because central government have said that they will trust the CHIP, that they will work with the CHIP, they'll pay the IROS to the CHIP. So let's see what we can do as a city, but not think of it of having to be owned 100% by the council. We've been talking about forming partnerships with communities. This is another one of those partnerships. It's a different form. It might be uncomfortable for 1 or 2, but that's all it is. It's a level of discomfort with letting something go and trusting that a trust will deliver. And I think this is going to be great for Christchurch. So I'm going, oh, thank you. No, she's So, the motion has been moved and seconded. I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Carried. Thank you very much.
And one abstention.
Hey?
And one abstention.
And one abstention from Yanni. Yeah.